It's just past sunset, roughly 80 AD. You're standing at the mouth of a narrow street in Rome, and the entire city has just gone pitch black. No streetlights, no moonlit sidewalks, just you, a tiny oil lamp, and about 1,000,000 ways to die before morning. Here's what nobody tells you about Roman nights. Ask 3 questions. Why did the richest empire on earth never invent public lighting? What actually happened once the sun went down? And why did the emperor himself become one of the dangers lurking in the dark? Stick around, because that last one is not a joke. Hollywood loves showing ancient Rome as this glowing marble paradise, forums lit up, togas gleaming under warm torchlight. Here's the thing Hollywood never told you. After dark, Rome basically shut its eyes and prayed. There was no municipal lighting system, none. A city of over 1,000,000 people, home to senators, soldiers, slaves, and everyone in between. And once the sun dropped below the hills, the streets went almost completely dark. No gas lamps, no electricity. Just whatever tiny flame you could carry in your own 2 hands. Before you even think about heading out to dinner, you might want to write your will first. That is not a dramatic exaggeration. The Roman poet Juvenal actually gave that advice, warning that anyone going out to dine at night without settling their affairs first was being reckless. Why? Because Roman apartment blocks, called Insulae, had no plumbing whatsoever. No bathrooms, no drains, nothing. Chamber pots got emptied straight out the window, into the street, onto whoever happened to be walking below at exactly the wrong moment. Juvenal joked that you could measure your odds of survival by counting the open windows above your head as you passed underneath, since every single one was a potential launch site. Let that sink in for a second. Dinner plans in Rome came with actual life insurance implications, and nobody thought that was strange. So what did people actually do at night, assuming they made it there in one piece? For the wealthy, evening meant the Cena, a long, indulgent dinner party stretched out over hours, reclining on couches, wine flowing, servers refilling cups nobody asked them to refill. Pliny the Elder, the Roman naturalist who cataloged basically everything about his world, wrote about how the elite structured their entire evenings around eating, gossiping, and occasionally reciting bad poetry at each other until someone finally passed out. Rough crowd, honestly. But step outside that villa, and the vibe changes fast. Here's where things get genuinely strange. You'd expect the danger on Roman streets to come from thieves, drunks, or the occasional falling chamber pot. What you would not expect is the emperor himself. According to the historian Suetonius, Nero used to disguise himself, sneak out of the imperial palace under the cover of darkness, and personally go looking for trouble in the streets at night. He would ambush ordinary people walking home from dinner parties, beat them for entertainment, and if they dared fight back, throw them into the city sewers. Yes, really. The single most powerful human being on the entire planet was moonlighting as a common street thug, roaming the same dark alleys as everyone else, except he was the one you actually needed to be afraid of. And if you were poor, you mostly stayed inside because you had no other choice. The streets of Rome at night were, frankly, lawless. There was no police force in the modern sense, no patrol car cruising by to check on you. Wealthy Romans who absolutely had to travel after dark brought along slaves carrying torches and, more importantly, hired muscle to fend off robbers, gangs, and whoever else the darkness happened to attract that particular evening. Anyone spotting a scarlet cloak surrounded by torch-bearing attendants knew to get out of the way fast, because that kind of entourage usually meant someone important and someone dangerous was coming through, and you did not want to be standing in their path. Here's another twist most people never hear about, and you can actually blame Julius Caesar for it. To ease Rome's brutal daytime traffic jams, clogged with carts, animals, and pedestrians all fighting for the same narrow streets, Caesar banned most wheeled carts from the city during daylight hours. Sounds like smart urban planning, right? Except it just pushed all of that traffic straight into the night. So while you're trying to creep home through total darkness, dodging chamber pots and possibly the emperor himself. You're also getting run down by heavy delivery carts with iron rims grinding over stone streets. Drivers barely able to see you either, lanterns swinging uselessly against the dark. Juvenal complained the noise alone was enough to keep even sleeping seals in the sea awake, which tells you exactly how loud Roman nights actually got. Rome essentially traded daytime gridlock for an all-night demolition derby with zero visibility, and somehow that counted as progress. Sleep wasn't exactly peaceful once you finally made it home either, assuming you had a home worth returning to. Most ordinary Romans lived in those same flimsy insulae, notoriously cheap, poorly built, and terrifyingly flammable. Sometimes stacked 5 or 6 stories high with barely any structural support holding them together. Fires broke out constantly and with no real fire department until Augustus eventually organized the Vigiles, a combined night watch and firefighting unit made up largely of freed slaves. Entire buildings could burn to the ground while residents slept peacefully upstairs, completely unaware. Think about that for a second. You could doze off in your third-floor apartment while the guy downstairs left an oil lamp too close to a curtain, and wake up to smoke already filling the stairwell, with no fire alarm, no sprinkler system, and no guarantee anyone was coming to help. Here's where things get weird in a completely different way. That chamber pot sitting next to your bed was not just for emergencies. Professional collectors called fullers actually paid Romans for the contents, going door to door or leaving jars out to collect what people didn't want. Urine is rich in ammonia, and ammonia was essentially ancient Rome's laundry detergent, used to clean and whiten wool togas until they gleamed. So somewhere in the city right now, a small side economy is running entirely on bodily waste, and somebody is turning a modest profit off what you just did, before bed, packaging it up and selling it to launderers across town. So who actually thrived after dark, despite all this chaos? Taverns in Pompeii, basically ancient fast food and wine bars, stayed lively well into the evening, serving cheap wine and hot food to workers, travelers, and anyone actively avoiding their landlord. Graffiti scratched onto the walls of Pompeii gives us a shockingly candid glimpse into this nightlife, insults between drinking buddies, love confessions scrawled in someone's drunken handwriting, boasts about how much wine a person managed to down before stumbling home. These were not polished historical records written for posterity. They were the ancient equivalent of bathroom stall scribbles, and they prove Romans partied, gossiped, flirted, and occasionally embarrassed themselves at night, just like people do now, 2,000 years later. Here's the modern mirror. You get annoyed when a garbage truck wakes you up at 3 in the morning. Your Roman ancestors got their sleep permanently wrecked by a 2,000-year-old traffic law from Julius Caesar himself. You worry about walking home from a bar alone late at night. They worried about getting mugged by the actual emperor of Rome, in person. You separate your recycling for a small environmental win and feel pretty good about it. They sold their own urine for cash to keep their togas white. Suddenly, your average Tuesday night doesn't sound so bad by comparison. And it wasn't only chamber pots and carts you had to worry about. Juvenal also described gangs of young men roaming Rome's streets after dark, picking fights with anyone unlucky enough to cross their path. There was no reliable way to tell a harmless drunk from someone about to rob you until it was already too late. So, quick recap before you go. No public lighting, ever, in a city of over 1 million people crammed into narrow streets. A single dinner invitation came with genuine mortality odds, thanks to airborne chamber pots raining down from above. Julius Caesar accidentally turned Roman nights into a sleepless, thunderous traffic nightmare. And somewhere out there in the dark, Nero himself might have been the guy about to jump you on your walk home. It's just past sunset, roughly 80 AD, and somewhere in Rome, someone is blowing out a lamp, quietly hoping tonight isn't the night the emperor comes looking for trouble. Some things never really change. You still hate walking home without your phone light. Let me know in the comments which one of these facts shocked you the most. And if you want more disturbingly relatable Roman survival stories, hit subscribe